Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. I want to save my soul.
Happy Hoppy Hour, beer lovers. I'm Lindsey, back for another episode of the Hoppy Girl Podcast, and I love Colorado beer production. Before we start, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and leave a review. I'm at all the socials at the Hoppy Girl Podcast. We're back for another adventurous beer tasting tour. I'm in one of my favorite mountain towns today, Winter Park, Colorado. So let's cheers to that. We're going to change it up a little bit today. We're not just going to do some beer reviews. When I reached out to this brewery to see if I could come hang, they lovingly invited me into their home, and they're actually going to hang with us. So I'm going to do my intro, and then we're going to talk some beer, talk about the brewing, talk about how it got started, all the fun things, but they're going to help and join in with me. So cheers, everybody. To start out, today we are at Big Trout Brewing Company. It's located in the Coopers Creek Square, just at the south end of Winter Park, downtown Winter Park, just off Highway 40, which turns into Main Street in Winter Park, which is great. For my listeners unfamiliar with Colorado, Winter Park is a little over 65 miles from Denver. It's just west on I-70. It's a fun ski town. The resort itself is known as Winter Park Resort, but I learned that it's actually 3 mountains combined. So it's Winter Park, Mary Jane, and Vasquez Ridge, which I didn't really know. And it's one of the first things you hit coming over Berthoud Pass into Winter Park. Winter Park Resort has been open for skiing and snowboarding since 1939 to 1940, and it is also home to one of the largest and oldest disabled skiing programs. That's called the National Sports Center for the Disabled, which is also pretty cool. Just a fun little fact, 3 of my 4 kids have learned to ski at Winter Park. The reason the 4th hasn't is because he's 1, so we'll get him on a board or skis pretty soon enough. But Phil, if we could drop in a little clip of Bo with his first time skiing. He was 2 and he immediately took to it, started shredding immediately. It's one of my favorite videos of the kids skiing because it's been really fun to watch him grow. But his first time shredding was pretty rad, and he took to it, was saying hi to people, asking people if he could help them, even though it was literally his first day. So that's pretty fun. He did really well. We've had a lot of fun and some stressful memories with skiing here at Winter Park, but this town is one of our favorites and we love it very much. Winter Park itself sits, the town center sits at about 9,000 elevation above sea level. According to the 2020 census, Winter Park has around 11,000 permanent residents, but with over 2,500 housing units, obviously the peak seasonal population can increase at any time. So a little fun note that I also was doing when I researched Winter Park and kind of this area is the Amtrak runs from January to March, take skiers to Winter Park. If you don't want to sit in traffic on I-70 but still want to get that skiing experience, take the Amtrak. It takes about 2 hours each way according to their website. I lovingly tried to book a ticket today just for fun. It's about $49, so it's not too bad. They have a sightseer's lounge, which offers food and drinks, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And so you can enjoy the ride. And my family has not done this yet, but that's one of our bucket list things. We're on track to do it. We want to do it. That sounds awesome. My kids are obsessed with trains, so we're doing it for sure pretty soon. I feel like I could talk about Winter Park for days. Phil and I came through here after we just got married. We love Winter Park, but I need to focus because I have guests that are going to come join me. I have beers that I need to drink. So back to beer. Big Trout Brewing has so lovingly welcomed me into their home. I'm so excited for Tom and Emily to come join me here in a second. I want to give you a quick rundown on what they offered me. They said that this is some of our most popular beers. So they have the Mexican lager, the El Pescador. They've got the Hickory Hill Raspberry Wheat. This one is the Amarillo by Morning. This one is the Alpine Lake IPA. And this last one is the North Folk Nut Brown. So Phil and I did a quick little taste of every one of them. all of them were amazing, no kidding. So if you haven't come here, check it out. I'm going to give you a quick little rundown of what my research showed me about their brewery, but then I want them to come pop in and we can talk to them about it because they know more than I do. They opened in 2020, and if you're remembering the way that I would, why would you open a brewery in 2020? That was like the heart of COVID, like the middle of it, lockdowns, everything was happening. We know a lot of the breweries in our area were trying to figure out how to stay open and coming up with creative ways on how to keep employees. And these guys were like, let's do it, we're in it, let's do it. So I think that's pretty cool. They've both been a part of Winter Park and the Grand County community since about 2006. They have a family here. Their brewery dreams have been going since about 2017. I know Tom has been in the brewing industry since around 2009. We'll have him talk about that. One of the things I want to mention just before they get here, because I think it's hard to brag about this when it's your business, but they are very dedicated to giving back to the community. So one of the things that they do is they take a lot of donations and donate to local nonprofits. So I'm gonna look at my computer just for a second so I can give you statistics that are accurate. But with the help of customers and what they are including as, they're not including what they label in-kind donations. So think things like gift cards or gift baskets, which have also been donated and also have a monetary value, but they are not including that in these numbers. Here's the stats. So in 2020, they got to almost $3,500. In 2021, over $6,800. 2022, around $7,300. In 2023, almost $6,500. Again, not including any of those other tangible donations. So that's huge. So since 2020, not including those separate goods, they've been close to almost $25,000 that they've been able to give back to their community. And I think that's something to be so proud of, especially as a small brewery operating in a smaller community. I think that's so cool that they really are dedicated to making sure that they give back, and that they not only give back in terms of beer, but give back in terms of donations and finances and stuff like that. Last but not least, before I get them on camera, Big Trout is considered a brew pub, so they offer beers brewed on site. You can see their brewing operations in the back, and we'll get Tom to talk more about that. But they also offer food, wine, spirits, and non-alcoholic beverages. And then they offer indoor and outdoor seating. And on a day like today, it's in March, but it's nice enough where you can sit outside. It's sunny and pretty warm, so people are enjoying the patio as well as indoors. Their tap room is beautiful. We'll show some B-roll and make sure that you guys get a good idea of what's happening here. This is a pretty cool spot. I really, really like it. So I'm gonna pause for a second. We're gonna get them back on, and we're gonna talk all things brewery and brewing. Cheers, everybody. We're back, and we are joined with our brewery owners. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about your history. So like how you guys met and how you came to be in Grand County and Winter Park and all of that. So go ahead.
Sure. My name is Emily Caldwell.
Tom Caldwell.
We met the classic Ski Town way here in Grand County. We actually met at the pub, which is down the road. If you ask most couples up here, they met at the pub. And we played softball against each other. And he bought me a beer, of all things.
You bought the enemy a beer. I love it.
Well, the best part is she walked up with her friend, and her friend was like, I'll take Cosmo on the rocks, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I'll take a Budweiser. And I was like, I really like her.
Yeah, she's a keeper at that point, for sure.
So yeah, we got to talking, you know, found our shared love for beer and fishing and camping and all things outdoors, and it all went from there. Great. So that's how we met. We both moved up here around the 2005-2006 year realm.
Yep.
He was working for the National Sports Center for the Disabled.
I just talked about that.
Yeah,
yep.
Very cool. Yep. Very cool operation.
Yeah.
Great program up here. And I was doing human resources at the ski area at the time. And so that's where we were when we met. And from there, we I moved several jobs, and then he took a job. You want to talk about?
Yeah. So she had a friend who became a close friend of our family's who was like, hey, I have a job up on the bottling line in Grand Lake Brewing Company. Would you like to check it out? And I was like, oh, I love beer. So I started up there, and at that point, the brewmaster was making the beer, selling the beer, bottling the beer, delivering the beer. Awesome. And so I was like, well, I could deliver beer, I could sell beer. And that was 2008, and craft beer was just, everybody wanted it. Yeah. So I sold to all the bars, enough that a distributor picked up that brand. And then
How far was your territory at that point?
we were just in Winter Park.
Okay, so it's just here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Grand County,
okay.
Winter Park, mostly Grand Lake.
Yep.
And the beer was selling really well. The distributor picked it up and took it statewide. And they're like, do you want to learn how to make beer now? And so I became a brewer. And within 2 months, I was pretty much a full-time brewer at that point. And
Did they have to twist your arm very hard?
No, that was a
Okay,
great
yeah.
deal, yeah.
You were like, okay, I'll stop running around and I'll make it.
Learn how to make beer.
That's fine.
Yeah. And then another brewery in Winter Park was getting started. It was called The Library, and it was run a
Oh my gosh.
Wyoming company. Yep.
That brings it back. Yep.
Yeah, and so I actually contacted them because they were running out of beer, and we had a bigger facility. And I was like, hey, how about we contract beer and we brew your beer? And they're like, well, how about you just come here and make all of our beer and we'll pay you better? And so I was like, that sounds even better. And so I took over all their brewing operations, and then they sold it to another brewery called The Peak. And then that ran that for about 3 years. And the town was really taking off in Winter Park, and we could feel a lot of growth. And we were like, if we don't become part of this growth, we're going to get priced out of the whole town. And so
We've seen a lot of that where Phil and I are from, where it's if you're not in it, you're out of it for sure. So
you can't. It's very hard to survive as an employee sometimes up here. It's hard to survive as an owner too, but we're at least part of the growth. We feel like we're giving back to the community. We're trying to make a really good, friendly family place, and we knew that the town was taking off, and it was time to try to put our foot in the ground.
And I will tell you, so I did my intro that I talked about your donations and giving back, which I think is something that you guys are very proud of and should be very proud of. I can say for my listeners that this is very family friendly. So their kids are here and my kids are here, and they're all playing. And they all got ice cream, so good luck, everybody. But it definitely is very family friendly, very welcoming to any patron. So that's for sure something that I can also attest to. So they'll say it, but I second it for sure. So
Definitely. When we started planning the brewery, it was, where would we go with our kids? What would we do with our kids? And part of that included the kitchen, that we made sure that we had a kitchen here. And that is because if we can feed our children, it's a lot easier to enjoy our beers if they are able to get some food in their tummies and play and have some good times. So that was a big part
any
of our
parent or grandparent will attest to that for sure. That snacks are important. Yes.
And we've really upped the kitchen too. It's really taken off. Our lead cook has done an excellent job. We got great chilies and soups.
So do you have a favorite? So that's I didn't really talk about this a lot, but like your menu has a lot of there's like some pretty solid apps, pizzas, sandwiches, soups, salads. I feel like I missed
Pork
burgers.
green chili is awesome. The pretzels are really big seller. Mac and cheese bites. We also have salads and little pizzas. So it's kind of a whole gamut, but we really try to switch it up through the seasons. Try to make as much as we can fresh, so that it's it's high quality. But we've also kind of tried to put ourselves in that price point where it's not a high-class dining restaurant. Sure. You can still get good food, but you're not paying a ton of money.
It's quality, but it's not the normal ski area pricing.
Families can come here and feel like they're not, I can also say for viewers, my crew went skiing today, earlier, and when we were getting out of the car to come here, a lot of other crews were coming off the hill to come eat and have some beer here. So that's, again, another really good thing. So let's see. Let's talk first. I should have done this off the start, but obviously disorganized brain. What are you drinking?
I am drinking the Amarillo by Morning Pale Ale. It's got Amarillo cryo hops in it. Which is that one? Yep, exactly. And it's really flavorful. Cheers.
Yeah.
One of my favorites that we have on tap right now.
Awesome.
So I went with the Mexican lager. Nice, delicious. Like 4.5%, so you can have a few of them. The little lime makes me feel like I'm on vacation. And
Okay, so I just recorded an episode about this, and we're not going to name names, but do you know the history of the lime?
I don't think I do.
So it's controversial. So I guess some people think it's because it's a Mexican lager, and there was a lot of concern about germs, that it was to disinfect the top of the bottle. Some people think it was the citrus was to keep away flies, and some people think that it was a bet.
Nice.
And so, but I like that it comes with.
I just like it because it feels like vacation.
It does. I mean,
It's
it does
delicious
feel like
without
we should
it.
be in flip-flops, although I kind of am. But anyway, that's my normal MO.
I respect the hardcore lager drinkers who are like, no, I don't want a lime in there. Like and then they really enjoy it, and it's a really clean,
It's got a good clean
classic
citrus.
taste,
Yep, it's very good. Okay, so let's talk brewery. How did this come into effect? So you guys are here, you're in Grand County, you're brewing for other people, and then all of a sudden you're like, do I want to brew for myself? You know?
No, I had seen the success in Grand Lake Brewing Company.
Yes.
It really took off, but it wasn't managed very well, and it kind of all fell apart on them.
Okay.
And I moved to a smaller brewery, and we could never produce enough beer. The tap room was constantly running out.
Yep.
I couldn't sell beer anywhere off site, which at that point there was no big brewery in town. It was like, who's gonna supply the ski hill? Who's gonna be the local brewery?
Absolutely.
When you look at Breckenridge Brewery, there's Breckenridge Brewing Company in the town. So I was like, wow, why can't we be that? And so we built our brewery and we invested in a lot of high-end equipment and larger tanks so that not only could we fill our tap room, that we were also able to go off-site. So we have, I think, 5 bars up at the ski resort right now that sells our beer. We sell it at the Devil's Thumb Ranch, Tabernacle Tavern, a spot in Granby.
That's cool. Yeah, that's
So
great.
we've kind of been able to Gravity House here in town, a nice hotel.
Yeah.
We've been able to expand our reaches while also making enough room for us, and that was really the whole, idea of like.
Okay, so then when exactly did you decide, like, hey, this is the plan, we're investing in this? Because I know that's an interesting story, especially with opening date, which I sort of teased you about off mic earlier and then teased on mic by myself because, that's how it goes. But like, when did that all start, and then how did it, and then I do want you to talk about your brewing house and brew system because it is unique for this area for sure. So.
Well, in 2017, when our daughter was getting close to 2, he came to me and said, you know what? I'm ready to start my own brewery. And I said, okay. And at that time,
She had no idea what she was in for.
No, I had no idea what we were doing. But I said, I can do this. We can put a business plan together. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, the first business plan I wrote was 55 pages long. And the first person we gave it to was like, no one's going to read this. Like, you got to change that. And so we had a lot of help along the way.
Phil and I own a few businesses, and our business plan is like, we'll figure it out.
That's how I was.
So after we made the decision, we got to work on the business plan. We called in friends and family. Of
course.
My uncle was a big part of the process. He reviewed the plan for us, told us it needed to be cut in half.
Yep.
Tom had a great friend he played hockey with who also said similar feedback for us and reviewed it for us. Got a lot of really good input and
of course.
help from our friends and family. Built the plan. And then after that, actually we owe a lot of gratitude to Tom's dad. He went to Fetch Brewing in Michigan. If you're aware of who they are, they're in Whitehall.
Okay.
Whitehall, correct? Yeah, so they're in Whitehall, and they have a cottage up near there.
Cool.
Or is it Montague? Technically Montague.
Okay, for everybody, how do you do the hand? Where is it in?
Yes,
So yeah, he'll show you. He's in Michigan.
right along the west coast here. Got Lake Michigan right in there, right there, right on the edges.
And so his dad went and talked to Fetch because that's near where they have a cottage.
Yep.
And he said, my son's really interested in starting a brewery. What did you guys do? And Chuck, if you ever have a chance to meet Chuck, he is phenomenal. He talks to everyone. He knows how to have a conversation with anyone and everyone in the world.
That's Tom's dad?
Yes, that's Tom's
My
dad.
father-in-law is very similar.
Yeah.
He is nobody's stranger, for sure.
That's where everything
yes,
goes. Yeah.
yes.
So he talked to them and they said, oh yeah, well you got to talk to these financial planners. They help with opening breweries. They're phenomenal.
Awesome.
So we worked with them. They were called, well, H&S is the accounting.
Brewers Professional Guild.
Yeah, no, Brewers, I can't remember what they're called. Professional Alliance, BPA, yes. Brewers
BPA,
Professional
okay,
Alliance.
perfect, yep.
They're H&S.
Okay.
Which is their accounting firm that they also have.
Awesome.
Anyway, we went to them. We presented our business plan to them. Dan came out, who was one of the owners, and he sat down with us at a brewery down in Idaho Springs and said, you know, we really like your plan. We think you've got a great thing. Like, let's roll with it.
Yay.
And so he helped us structure a plan to raise funds for the brewery system that we wanted. And what we found out later when we got investor meetings was that they don't just take anyone off the street. They have to actually believe in what you're doing. We were just kind of like, oh, they must just sign anyone up.
Sign up everybody.
But they had, you know, about 50 people they were working with at the time. After that, we just got busy raising funds, planning out everything.
Awesome.
Tom picked out, he'll talk a little bit more about the brew house, but he picked out his dream brew house.
So that I'm
this was
following
2017.
along. Okay, perfect. Yeah.
And that's when I'll let him tell the story about how it was named.
Yes.
But following that, we started fundraising in 2018. We formed the corporation in 2018.
Yep.
Started our fundraising, broke ground here. Right after this little guy was born in 2019, we signed our lease here and started construction, and it went from there.
Okay, so let's talk about how the name came about.
Yeah, so obviously when we started, I think there were 7,000 breweries in the country. I think there's 10,000 now. So brewery names are pretty tough. I always thought mine was going to be Base Camp Brewery, but it never happened. Anyways, so one day I was walking into daycare with Madison. She was only 2 years old, just kind of starting to talk. And I was like, Madison, what do you think about Trout Brewery? She looks at me and she goes, no, Daddy, Big Trout. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I was like, and we love to fish. And so I went back to work and I Googled it. I'm like, no one has that name? Like, that seems really easy. And so like later that day, I registered it with the Brewers Association. And then my cousin worked in patents and trademarks, and I called him up and I was like, what does it cost to trademark a name? Like, let's just start this right now. And so he got the paperwork going within like a week, and pretty soon we had it trademarked of like, this is our name, and we were there. And
I just love that she was like, no, Dad, big trout, not little trout, big trout.
And it sounded so much better, and it was like, it was perfect. We love to fish, and we kind of feel like it's a lifestyle almost, the big trout. It's not just like a fishing thing, and it's not just big trout. It's being out fishing with your family and getting out in the woods and hiking and camping and just loving the mountains.
Well, in this area really, I mean Colorado in general, but this area really speaks to that, where it's like, it's big trout, but it's also like, go outside, go be outside, go enjoy, like, tap rooms, go enjoy outside, go shred with your family, and then come to a brewery. Like, it's that for sure. It's very cool.
Yeah, and then the fact that she named it was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of a better name than that. And then, like, so we went with it.
Well, in your Rolodex, and you're like, nope, she did it.
That worked.
Yep.
Worked.
Yep.
Well, and I'm going to twist a little bit too, because when he was still working at the library and I was pregnant with Madison, pregnant with Madison. So before we even had planned on starting this place, we were in the hospital having a baby, and he had already brewed a beer called the Mighty Madison, which we now have on tap here, which is her beer. And about 2 years,
lot of it.
she, all the time. She sells a lot of it, but she came, and one day, I think it was about a year into our operations here, and we had Henry by then, and so now we have a little boy, and she said, you know, Mommy and Daddy, I don't think it's really fair that I have a beer, but Henry doesn't. So now we have the Hoppy Henry. So
That is
both
such
children
an
have their
oldest
own
child and a girl child, because I have 4 boys, which a lot of the listeners know, and like all of mine would have been like, they
beer, not yours.
they don't need another beer. They're fine. No, it's all my beer all day, every day. So that's so sweet, though.
So they both have their beer, which is kind of
Yeah.
special.
And sort of like circles back to, this is your family. This isn't like, this brewery is also your family. This isn't just like someplace you go clock in, clock out. Like, this is your home. This is your second home. This is your family.
I mean, it's everything we have invested in this place. Like, I mean, as Emily touched to it, like we have, I think, 28 small investors. I mean, we spent a year and a half working the pavement trying to convince anybody that had some money to, hey, this is gonna work. Invest in us. Like, we will make it happen.
Circling on that, talk about the brew house and kind of how unique.
That was even the toughest part, because I had the idea of like, let's get the best brew house possible, because I'm an idiot. And so, but I really liked the advantages of the high efficiency brewing house, because it has a lot of special qualities, and it was something different, which is really intriguing to me. It was like, I'd worked on a lot of equipment that was kind of it was kind of just put together, and didn't really like the Peaks brewing system was an old milk manufacturer, and it was just turned into a brew house. Didn't have certain temperature controls. So when it was like, all right, what are we going to buy? Let's look at something really cool. This high efficiency brewing house, it reduces our water waste by 30%, which was one of the first things that caught our eye, because we love to fish, and being able to produce high quality beer without wasting as much water was really important to me. So
Circling to the fishing trout, like it all interconnects.
And being in the mountains and the headwaters of the Colorado, we really strive to use the least amount of water we can while producing a high quality product. And so this mash filter, it takes all the grain and it squeezes all the water out of it. We get like a 98% extraction opposed to maybe 70% on a normal brew house. It also does it much quicker. So a brew day, in terms of lautering a beer for 2 hours, it takes me about 20 minutes to move a beer from a mash tun into the kettle. So it's much quicker. I'm producing 2 batches in an 8-hour day, which is really fast. If I want to do 3, no big deal. So we can really make a consistent product with small batches, blending them together, or we can make a small batch. But in the end, we're trying to reduce the amount of water we waste, reduce the amount of grain that we use, and the amount of time that the boiler's on, the amount of time that pumps are running, the lights are on. A shorter brew day saves us money, saves more natural resources, and so all those were really important to us. And it was, how do we do something different? There's so many breweries out there. Like, let's not do the same thing everybody else is doing. And I also saw that the breweries that I were working at, they weren't investing in their future. Like, I felt like we could make really good beer. And it doesn't help if 3 or 4 years down the road you need to build a whole new brewery to take advantage.
I wonder how many brewers that are even in operation today would be like, oh my gosh, like if we knew what we know now, like
it's a
just
huge
go
gamble.
Buy the equipment,
It's a
better
massive
equipment
gamble.
equals better beer equals more productivity or more consistency on tap.
Changing that brew house. I'm just going to brew more and more and more often. And eventually buy bigger tanks to fill those extra batches. So my recipes should stay the same throughout the whole process of our whole life. It's a scary situation. 2 years ago, man, even a couple of weeks ago, I would have been like, I don't know if that was a good idea, but we're positive. We have a great following from the community. Starting in COVID was tough. There wasn't bloggers like you coming around looking for breweries, because for 2 years we were just kind of nowhere.
I feel like, and Phil will have to.
That was a wild year, though.
Oh, it was. I mean, so what a.
And you think about opening a new business, let alone a new brewery, and when you open a new restaurant or a new brewery, you get a ribbon cutting, you get a bunch of bloggers, you get a bunch of people who are here excited about the new beer, and that's when you like stockpile all that cash that gets you through the next few years, and we were social distanced. We were restricted on how many people we could put in this place, and
Which
it made for
restricts
everything.
The first year, you made 30% of your profits. Like, nobody starts a business hoping that the first year you make 30% of your profits. But when you're stuck at 30% occupancy for that first year, that's all we had. And we didn't have bars that were like, oh, we love your product, we need more of it.
Right.
Because no one knew us.
You didn't
So
have an establishment yet.
it was tough, but you know, we've fought through it.
Yep.
We're still confident most of the time that we did the right thing
Are
and
any of us
that
every day?
we can really grow in the space that we have. And that's why we front loaded so much of the investment into the actual equipment and the way that we were making the beer, because we didn't want to have to start over again. Like, this is our one chance. And
Well, and interestingly, I mean, going back to the philanthropy side of it, you made 30, you still donate. You guys still donated stuff. Like, you didn't just hoard it. You like truly believe in what you're doing, because you are like, we're going to give back too. We're not like, everybody's in this together. This is our community. We're investing in it and hoping that you give what you get kind of thing. Right?
I think our accountants and our investors were like, what are you doing? Like,
Are you guys sure?
When we started it, though, our goal was not only putting our roots down in this community, but being a part of it, because we love it. We've been here for so long. It's important to us that we're active members of it, not just being here. And and you know,
but it shows. Definitely, you can tell the people that talk the talk and walk the walk versus they sort of just talk the talk, right? Like, you can tell for sure. So,
you know, my good friend Rick Stone passed away during the construction of it. And so Rick Stone was named the Rick Stout. And so that's kind of our donation beer. And 20% of the profits of that beer every quarter goes to a local nonprofit that we feel Rick would have liked. So it's, you know, the Grand Foundation, we gave it to the firefighters, the Shining Stars. This quarter's going to the local radio station so they can get some more equipment to kind of build that. Just things that we feel like Rick would have liked, and that's kind of our way of giving back in his name and as in the brewery's name.
oh, he'd love that. That's so cool.
It's been really fun to be able to pick and choose some things. And what was wild is the first year we opened, obviously COVID was dramatic. Following that came the biggest wildfire of our county's history, which was the East Troublesome wildfire.
Right.
It took over 400 structures in our community, and it grew over 100,000 acres overnight. It was bananas. And so what we did, the first thing we did was we're going to do a promotion called Fight Fire with Beer. What we really wanted to do was give the firefighters beer. But the more we talked to them, they were like, no, we don't need beer because we have to fight the fire. We said, okay, we get that. So instead of doing that, we had people buy beers, basically, which was a donation. So they would buy a beer that became a donation, and then we matched every beer that they bought, and that became a grand donation to them. And with the community, the other breweries and us participated in the East Troublesome Pale Ale, which we all produced the same pale ale, and all the proceeds for that went to the Grand Foundation Fund that also supported the victims and the firefighters. So it was a really interesting. I know, it's wild that's.
And when the firefighters got a day off, they came in. We usually buy them their dinner and their beers. We had a couple that were pretty regular. They came out of Idaho, and they happened to live at the hotel next door. And they took full advantage of that, but it was good. It was because we couldn't just go give stuff to the firefighters. So we wanted them to come in, and if they came in and they were helping to save our community, we bought them dinner and we bought them a beer, and we were happy to do it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's so great. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk beer now. Favorite beer on tap? What do we got?
So it changes a lot. Right now, I drink a lot of the Mexican lager, but I'm also partial to the Nut Brown. It's a great beer. I really change on the seasons. The Leaping Trout Lager is probably one of my favorite beers I make. It's a dry hops lager, and it's around all summer. I think we have the same favorite beer right now. Like,
We do, so I'm going to steal his other favorite, which is the Amarillo by Morton.
Yeah,
which is
so
what I'm
you
drinking
guys
right now.
brought your two favorites,
it's really
gave me your two
delicious.
favorites.
And just before that came on tap, we had the Emmy Lou's Brew, which is an IPA, which he kindly brewed for me.
Yay.
And that was my favorite. It was brewed with rice, which is kind of a poke at me because my kids tell me my favorite food is rice because I have
Is your favorite
gluten
food
problems.
rice?
I have all sorts of problems. And so when the kids, or when he's working late and I'm cooking dinner for the kids and I throw chicken nuggets for them, I make rice for myself. And so when Henry was interviewed at preschool, I think several times in a row, they were like, "What's your mommy's favorite food?" Rice.
Oh, I don't know if I want to ask my kids.
it's hard to pick a favorite one because it changes. I mean, there's a lot of them, like the Mighty Madison, that's always got a personal spot, and the Hoppy Henry. But one of my most proudest beers is the Hickory Hill Raspberry Wheat. So it was the very first beer that I made at this brewery. My grandma.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Number one.
So my grandparents lived on Hickory Hill Lane in Michigan.
Okay.
And they always had a raspberry patch.
Oh.
And so I was like,
there
oh,
you
well,
go.
that's cool. Let's make a beer for them. And my grandma is going to turn 101 next month. So it's pretty cool. And she's actually had some of the beer, and she got to be on the Smuckers.
101.
Yeah. And so
That is so cool.
it's a pretty special beer. And to be in Colorado, and there's times where we'll have 3 or 4, maybe 5 IPAs on tap.
Sure.
The Hickory Hill Raspberry Wheat outsells all of them every month.
Isn't that interesting?
And so it's
I
kind
mean,
of
it is very good.
it's a special part of like my heart that it's
Yeah.
like a family beer, and
That is so
it's
cool.
pretty cool. So
I learned a statistic the other day that 40% of craft beer brewing is IPAs, or like classified as an IPA. So like IPAs are heavy hitters, but that's cool that you've got some, that like are not in that category and then still like
out
kind of go bat to bat, pull their punches too. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
it's a great beer.
Okay, before we wrap up, because I've taken up so much of your time, anything else that we haven't talked about, or anything that you feel like you want people listening, people traveling to Winter Park? Because like we're not from Winter Park or Grand County. Like our crew, or like where we run, is South Denver. We're from Castle Rock. So like anything that you want people to know about the area, about your brewery, about anything before we wrap up, and then I'll let you guys go.
I mean, as far as the area goes, it's a really magical place. This area is, it's developing, it's growing. Like Tom said, we got our roots in because we saw that happening. We saw the writing on the wall, but in the same sense, it's still kind of old classic ski town feel. There's a lot of that here, which is really, really nice. Great community involvement. Wonderful schools. Our kids love it here. And there's outdoor activities year round. Even during mud season, we're out fishing. We're out doing something with the kids. And there's something to be said about that that makes it really special up here.
Absolutely. I know we've come up in May, June, and just, done
And
whatever,
quiet,
right?
But
Yeah.
it's lovely, and there's so much to do.
Yeah.
the fall is amazing up here. There's hardly anybody around. The aspens are beautiful. I'd say in terms of our brewery, what sets us apart is, we have the kitchen, which is really important. We also serve some spirits, and we serve wine. We have ciders from around town. We make a really nice root beer. I make a raspberry soda. So we're trying to kind of be inclusive. You don't have to be a hardcore craft beer lover to come here and enjoy the place. You can come in and have some Kraft macaroni and cheese and a root beer. And, hear some stories from Pat, who's been here for 65 years. We really want to be a family place. We want everyone that comes in here to feel welcome and to feel happy. And we also are trying to expand. So if you're up on the hill skiing, stop into Lunch Rock or Docks, Derailleur Bar, the Sunspot. All those.
My crew likes Derailleur. That's like a really good, they come right down, and
It's important to support local beers because all breweries right now they're hanging on. It's a tough market. For so long it was really easy, but it's super competitive now, and everything on the the raw materials side to paying your labor to paying your rent, everything has gone up. So we really need everybody's support. You know, it's a great place to hang out. We're grateful for everyone that comes in the door because it truly is a family business. Like, I mean, we got everything we have into this store, and you can see our kids are running around here all the time.
They have their
It'll
own
be hard
locker
to cut them out. They'll be bopping in.
They have a locker in the back with the employees, and they've got their locker filled with toys, and they bring them out. This is where we're sitting right now. It's kind of dubbed our party room. And when it's not in use, it is their playroom. So when they get excited to come here, and Henry will put on his safety glasses and his work helmet, and he will stand in the brewery and use this little plastic hammer, and we'll be knocking on things, and he's working. And I play music every once in a while here, and so I'll be playing, and I'll all of a sudden see everyone's eyes lift above me. And when I look behind me, I've got 2 kids sitting on the brew house just waving at everyone, and it's really, to me, that's what it's all about. And it's really special that our whole family can be involved to the level that they are and welcomed to the level that they are.
And that's so important. It's so important with kids. Phil and I know that for sure. Okay, I want to make sure I get this right, so I'm going to bop over to my screen. So another kind of like quick plug, because you guys are super interested in the fishing and fishing community. So the 18th annual Fly Fishing Film Tour, known as F3T, is that correct? Will be here June 1st, 6 p.m. So when I was doing a little bit of research, so F3T is the original and largest fly fishing film event in the country, I guess. And so it's ticketed. Tickets are cheap. It's not that big a deal. You can go to your website to find tickets. And then their website is flyfilmtour.com. Your website is bigtroutbrewing.com. Theirs is flyfilmtour.com. So anyone who's interested can find more information. But how did you guys hook up with that? Because that seems like a pretty big deal. 18th annual. I mean, 18 years of doing anything is a big deal. So
Cool. So the Film Fest actually contacted us, but I think most importantly to say first is that it's all a fundraiser for the Trout Unlimited, which is a local organization that's helping to restore the rivers in the whole county, and it's really a national organization. But we're working with the Colorado headwaters of the Trout Unlimited. So all the ticket sales go back to the Trout Unlimited.
Great.
So we're not making money off the Film Fest. No. There's going to be all kinds of cool door prizes from Yeti, Sims. We have collected from the local fly shops, the Winter Park Fly Fisher, cool handmade fishing nets. I mean, so many really great door prizes that if you buy a ticket, you get a ticket to the raffle prizes that go into the door prizes. And so it's a really cool event. I think they're going to be great films, but I think it's really, really a way to bring some other folks into the conservation of our cold waters, because right now our Trout Unlimited is run by guys in their 70s, and we need to get some younger folks in to help protect the rivers up here. We're at the headwaters of the Colorado River, and that is a huge lifeline for the whole West. And if we're not protecting the water that's coming out of here, then it's going to affect everybody downstream. So we really want to be part of that effort to help create awareness of what's going on in the rivers, and that we need to protect them, and we need to help slow down some developments that are happening on river banks so that we can have that cold, clean water that's coming in to help save the trout. And by doing that, we're going to have an awesome film festival. And there's going to be delicious beer, there's going to be flies, there's going to be all kinds of prizes. It's going to be really fun.
I mean, that sounds so cool.
And great event. And it's $25 a ticket. Super easy.
Cheap. It's not
you can get them on our website. It's really easy. And know that your purchase of a ticket is a donation. So no matter what, you are giving that straight to the protection of the headwaters of the Colorado River, which is really cool.
And you could win a prize.
And you could win a Yeti cooler. Prizes. You could win all sorts of cool stuff.
Lots of cool prizes. Trixel is kicking in some prizes. So we got a really good lineup of some cool raffle gifts. So there's a really good chance if you show up, you're going to win something. And you're also going to win in the fact that you've helped save rivers.
Very cool. Well, thank you for joining me. Thank you for letting me interrupt and take up your time. It was so nice to meet and hang with you guys.
We really appreciate it.
I need to go drink all these beers. So
Thank you, Lindsey.
thank
we
you.
appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Cheers.
So that's a wrap on this episode of the Hoppy Girl Podcast. I can assure you that I will be back to Winter Park. We love Winter Park. It is such a cool town. So I will definitely be back. I want to give a good thanks to Big Trout Brewing Company and Tom and Emily for giving us their home and allowing me to take up their time. I feel like that was such a fun episode to just learn from two entrepreneurs' perspective on owning a beer and running a brewery and going through all of it, and then also creating such a cool like family environment and giving back to the community. So less tasting, but a lot of beer information and a lot of cool stuff. As always, a list of all my notes and sources and everything like that is listed at the hoppygirlpodcast.com website. And hit me up on all the socials as usual, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the things at Hoppy Girl Podcast. Thank you again, Big Trout Brewing, and cheers, everybody.